Hey team, welcome back everyone. Today we are going to make a tropical Christmas pudding. So this guy here is based on my wife, Dottie Wattie's Christmas pud that her family always had for Christmas. And then when Aim and I have been together for 30 years or whatever, we started having the Christmas pud too. And we first came to Nunu, we really needed a Christmas pud to celebrate Christmas here in far north Queensland. And it was so far away from everyone else. So we made Dottie Wattie's pud, and sadly Dot actually died this year, and it's sort of the end of an era, but we keep her pudding alive and sell them through the restaurant and make them every year for Christmas. And over the years it's morphed into something that is really, really beautiful and celebrates the nostalgia of a Christmas pud and a British sort of heritage, but you know, it's some fun stuff that we've saved during the year, and I think that's what makes it a really special thing. For me, Christmas pudding's all about, it kind of comes together pretty easy. Like, it's not even that much of a recipe, but it's about the sort of provisioning as the year goes on. We've got lychees. Now these guys have just come into season, but they've been dehydrated to concentrate the flavour, almost like a lychee sultana. Dried banana, dried pineapple, dried jackfruit, dried pawpaw, dried mango, dried fruit peel, and then the classic raisins and sultanas and currants. And over the year they just get dried and squirreled away for the sort of special occasion that he's finally putting together the puds. The puds themselves in a perfect environment, I'm just going to show you how it comes together, but we soaked the fruit for about 2 months in some really yummy booze. I've got some stuff from outside the area. These are gifts from friends, a beautiful 40-year-old brandy and an Armagnac from just before my birth. But some local booze as well. So this is really fantastic rum made by the Watkins crew up on the tablelands. Really, really beautiful local sugarcane rum, tastes amazing. And Distill on the Hill, a local gin distillery, they make this slow gin, which is sloe berries soaked in gin, and it has a perfume that is just, magical. So to go about it, we're going to start getting our fruit soaking. So like I said, we would normally soak the fruit for a long time, and then around sort of middle October we start to put the base of the pudding together, and then in November we start cooking them off in earnest. The more you age them, the more they get this really deep caramel flavour, as all that fruit sort of comes together and binds into this really delicious fruity, it's almost like a fruit cake. There's barely any binder in there, but it's absolutely delicious. So let's get cracking. Righto, so first of all, we've got some sultanas. I'm going to put them in this beautiful big bowl. I was gifted by a friend, made here in Cairns by a local potter. Spirit of Christmas, we're going to talk about gifts. And this here I got for my 50th birthday off my sister-in-law Lucy, made from the stave of a wine barrel and hand carved by her. And that to me is what the true spirit of Christmas is. That's what true luxury is, sort of having something that you carry on and there's a real sense of tradition to it. Like the cloth, for instance, a lot of families keep the cloth every year and wash it and use it again for their pud, and that's totally fine. So what else have I got in here? I've got some currants. These are the old favourites, obviously, for a decent pudding or cake. And then some raisins. Now, into the world of local fruits that we've been drying. Here I have a little mix of dried pineapple that's been really finely diced. And a little bit of pawpaw in there as well. Like I said, we sort of, as fruits ripen, we put them away to dry and then put them in the back of the cool room for this sort of thing. And a little bit of mixed peel. So really fruit heavy arrangement here. Now I've got some jackfruit. I absolutely love jackfruit. And this stuff's been dried until it's really quite leathery. But the act of drying the fruit just concentrates those beautiful flavours. I'm just going to roughly chop that. So it's sort of the same size as everything else. Now I'm sure there's some matriarchs or patriarchs of the family out there telling me I'm doing this all wrong, and that's okay. This is just our pud. And some dried bananas. So these are a little, I think they're ladyfingers actually, just dried overnight in a really low oven or a dehydrator. And just again, roughly chop those guys. And then, what else have I got? Mango. So mango season's just started. So interestingly, I have some mangoes from last season, which is nearly a year old, which are again, really quite strong. And these I just dried in the last couple of days. So favourite mangoes for this would have to be the KPs, but really there's no rules. And again, just chopped up Nothing too small, nothing too big, just roughly. That's a beautiful mango, and I have some red pawpaw here as well. So we're going to chop some of that. Now originally this recipe was in ounces and cups, so not really how I work anymore. So from ounces and cups to grams to me actually cooking, which is basically no recipe anyway. And these guys, which are some of my absolute favourites, there used to be a bloke at Rusty's Market. He was an old tobacco farmer who put me onto this, and they used the drying machines for the tobacco to dry lots of fruit, but they're dried lychees. So it just looks like an old lychee, but they're actually inside, the shell breaks away and you get this beautiful lychee raisin. So these guys have only been dried for one night, so there's still quite a little bit of it, see, a little bit of moisture in them, but the flavour is really, really concentrated. If you dry them for about 3 or 4 days, you get a very dark lychee raisin, which is very strong in flavour. So I'm just going to pop a few of these in, because I reckon if you live in far north Queensland, there's two things that scream Christmas. That's lychees and mangoes. Right now the trees along the highways are bursting with mangoes. It looks like it could be a pretty good season. But then some people tell me there's a connection between that and cyclones, so I don't I don't really want the cyclones, but I love seeing all those mangoes. So we'll bang a few of these in. Righto, so that's most of our dried fruit in there. So next I'm going to add some vanilla bean. I've actually got some local vanilla from the tablelands here. I just want to scrape out the seeds. Try and get all of that out. And don't throw those guys out, because they are really good for putting, you can either dry them and turn them into a sugar or put them on top of things as garnishes, but either way, they're not rubbish yet, that's for sure. And there's something, I mean, come on, vanilla's got to be one of the greatest ingredients, so strong. So now we're going to start soaking our fruit in some really beautiful booze. So like I said, we've got slow berry gin, just a splash of that. And I've got rum. Rum in far north Queensland, come on mate, just a splash. I've got a little bit of Shiraz, so some red wine. And because it feels like a special kind of Christmas, I've got some Armagnac here, which I actually had for my 50th birthday this year, which is divine. And this was another present from a friend, a very beautiful and rare aged brandy. And this smells and tastes like Christmas pudding already. So just a little splash of that. So now we're just going to give our fruit a bit of a stir. Like I said, ideally you would let this just plump up over a few days in the fridge. I don't like cooking off the booze, you know, we're all adults here. I like it to still maintain that beautiful alcohol sort of flavour. You could warm this up to make it a little softer, but here we are. I mean, I'm becoming soft just standing in front of the fire, so that's going to be fine as it is. Next in here, I'm going to put some blood orange zest. So we're at the very end of the blood orange season. Okay, and I've got some regular orange here too. In all that goes. So assuming we've let that sit for a little bit longer, I'm going to add some brown sugar. And the brown sugar has that really rich, dense and dark molasses sort of flavour. And just already smells like Christmas. So we grate the apple, green apple because it's nice and tart, straight into our pudding bowl. Just make sure you don't get the core in there. I love this grater. I bought this in Vietnam about 20 years ago, and it's just absolutely perfect in its design almost. A little bit more of a stir. I mean, come on. That looks like a party. Now, to bind this all together, I do have some Nunu spiced salt. Now, you'll notice there's a real sort of absence of spices in the puddings that we make, mostly because I think that that's what can sort of turn some people off having Christmas pud, being that too spicy. So in our spice salt, we use on a lot of meat and poultry. This has star anise, Szechuan pepper, and cassia, and it's really, really beautiful for this pudding. So we'll put our salt in. And then I do have a little bit of mace, so just the outside of the nutmeg, the lacy outside. And those spices and that salt, you want to kind of bring the sugar and the salt up together. Okay, so to bind all of that beautiful fruit and sugar and booze, we're going to use some sourdough breadcrumbs. These are great, make them all year round with the leftover bread. But they really takes a lot for them to hydrate, so it's really important you get them in and they bloom up into that kind of sugary sweet juice. So the breadcrumb goes in, instantly sucking up all of that flavour. And then I've got some organic stone ground flour, which is what we use for our bread, and in goes the flour. You could sift it in, but there's no lumps, that's all right. Such an excellent product. It in itself almost has a flavour. Now, I'm going to need a bit of egg in there, so I think for one I'd do 2 eggs. Maybe 2.5 eggs. Can you do half an egg? I don't know. Okay, so just beat the egg up. And we're going to put in, most of it. I'm going to go 2.5 eggs into there. It's already starting to look like pud. Now, I do have another ingredient, and it's in the freezer, and that's the beef fat. So I'll just go and grab that now so it's nice and cold. So now for the fat. This is rendered beef fat that we've saved from all the trimmings that you cook slowly until it clarifies, and then we freeze it into a block and grate it. So it's really important you add it to the pudding when it's cold and separated, otherwise you just get kind of gloopy mess. So in goes the beef fat. You wonder how these recipes get invented, don't you, all those years ago? So I'm going to quickly incorporate the fat before it all melts. The last couple of ingredients. We have some fresh blueberries. The blueberry season in cans has just kicked off, so that's very fortuitous. In they go. I have a mixture, this is some flaked almonds, and I don't roast them. I just like them to go in so they sort of soften a little bit in the cook. We have toasted coconut, and then some macadamias that have just been chopped up nice and finely. And the trick here is to sort of fold these guys in so they don't break up too much. I did forget we need a splash of honey, so just to be a little bit sweeter. There you go. And that, my friends, is the base of our Christmas pud. In a perfect world, probably would have let the fruit sit in the fridge in the booze for about 3 or 4 days, so it's a little softer. What we need to do now is grab our calico cloth, grab some at Spotlight, but make sure you wash it, because when calico is produced, it has a film on it, and that's not very nice, a bit of a nasty thing for cooking, so give it a really good wash, hang them out on the line, press them, and then you have your pudding cloth. But it's really important you soak it first in a little bit of water, because it means that the pudding doesn't sort of impregnate into the cloth quite so much at the start. And so what we're going to do now, pudding bowl, is lay our cloth over the bowl, and we're going to fill it up with our yummy mix. Now in it goes. This is about, well, I added more extra fruit, a little bit more of that tropical fruit. So this is about 950 grams of pudding, which makes a really fantastic pud for you and your family. It's rich, it's delicious. You don't need to have mountains of it. Mind you, on Christmas Day, I'm pretty hopeless and I do like it. And it's even better the next day. And I tell you one of my favourite things in the world, slice leftover Christmas pud and pan fry it in butter. Woo! That's heady stuff, right? That is the stuff of champions. Righto, we're going to put that over to the side and grab some twine and start to give this guy, tie it up like that. I'll grab myself a length of string. And make sure it's all up like that. Oh, look at that. And tie it up nice and tight, just so that it keeps its shape. And there we go. That's our Christmas pud. Pretty simple, but took a year to kind of get all the stuff ready. Now we need to find a way to cook it. And I'm going to cook it home here over the fire in a wok with a steamer. Alternatively, you could hang this over a pot of boiling water and let it just steam, but it's going to take about 4.5 hours. I just happen to have the world's largest wok, which you may not. That's okay. Should do it. And not only do I have the world's biggest wok, I also have the biggest steamer. Pop that on top like that and let the water come to the boil. Righto. So now our water's boiling. I'm going to steam this in the bowl so it gets that really nice pudding shape. That's going to take about 4.5 hours to cook, so it's really important we keep checking the water and topping it up because you do not want to burn the pud. So gang, while the pudding is steaming, I'm going to make some hard sauce. Well, that's what we called it in our family anyway, but I suggest you make it somewhere at the start of December, and all it consists of is some beautiful unsalted butter, icing sugar, salt, and a little bit of cognac, brandy, or Armagnac. I'm going to use this Armagnac because it's really, really special to me. So what we're going to do, soften the butter and grab a little bit of, I never know which way around to do that. I actually find it a little bit easier this way. A little bit of orange zest, just onto the butter. And there's no real rules here. It's all about the flavour that you like. And I'm going to put a decent pinch of salt, because salt and sugar are best friends. And then some icing sugar. You want it pretty sweet. It's Christmas time. And just give it a bit of a mush. I'm going to add in this stuff first. Give it a bit of a... Now, the question is, where are we up to? Definitely going to take a little bit more. Salt's pretty good. More icing sugar, and I'm going to add the booze. So just enough so that you can taste it, but nothing too ridiculously over the top. And give it a bit more of a stir. Now you're going to have to beat pretty hard to get the alcohol to emulsify with the butter. And that there, guys, is either brandy butter or hard sauce, whichever name you want to call it. Oh, so good. Put that in the fridge, or you can roll it into a log. Doesn't really matter, but we're just going to swodge it on top of the pudding when it's ready. So we'll put that aside, and I'll see how the puds are going. Okay, I reckon this bad boy is going to be ready. Hang on. So that's 4 hours, and you can see the pudding's taken on the darkest mahogany colour. So So I reckon that's ready to serve. Look at that guy. Proud, beautiful, and the smell of the spices and the vanilla and those beautiful plumped up boozy fruits. I mean, it's just absolutely to die for. Look at that. Just tease it back from the edge. Some people say to flour the cloth. Some people say to butter the cloth. To be honest, I think that's all part of it. You just have it sitting there for everyone to get a big luscious spoonful. Like I said, the way we make ours, they're really dense in fruit, less cakey and more fruity. But that there is absolutely a thing to behold. And that's how I would serve it, on the cloth, ready to go. We just get a big spoonful, put on some of our hard sauce and some passion fruit ice cream. So I'm going to do that and let you know how it tastes. I'm going to get myself a nice big scoop. Like I said, our puds are a little bit crumbly because I like it that way with all that fruit. Less flour, more fruit. So I'm going to give myself a healthy little bit of pudding, some brandy butter on top so that it melts into the yummy pud. One for a heart attack. And right next to that, a big swatch of passion fruit ice cream, vanilla custard, whatever's your fancy, guys. Let's be honest. I just love the way that this tastes with that beautiful sour fruity flavour of the passion fruit. So there you go. Doesn't look like much, but I tell you what, it tastes like paradise. So what do we got? It tastes like it does every year. Like a little bit of history, a little bit of a nod to the future, and just absolute sunshine on a plate. Thanks, team. Catch you soon.